Let's talk about Ter Stegen, shall we? And talk about what's going on at Barcelona with the first choice goalkeeper or not, or where we stand on him.
The impression we're getting is that Ter Stegen might well be on the way out of Barcelona. So not first choice, not second choice, but gone potentially, because they're moving for Joan Garcia, who was the best goalkeeper in La Liga with Espanyol last season. It looks like that deal is going to happen now. Of course, it'd be a controversial deal because Barca and Espanyol are bitter rivals, but it looks like he wants to stay in the city of Barcelona. He's not fussed about sort of some of the reaction there would be in the city for him signing for Espanyol's rivals. And if Joan Garcia arrives, like I say, having just been the best goalkeeper in La Liga last season, he's arriving to play. He's arriving to be first choice. So if he comes in, he would be first choice for Barcelona. And Wojciech Szczesny, it looks like he's going to stay for another year. He would be second choice and be happy with that role, having come out of retirement in the first place to join Barca. And that leaves no room for Ter Stegen. And Ter Stegen is one of Barcelona's high earners, earns a lot of money. It would make financial sense for them to move him on. There's a lot of reports coming out of Barcelona as well over the last few days that the club weren't too happy with how Ter Stegen came back from that long-term injury, which kept him out for most of the season. Not just because on the pitch, when he played, he didn't look great, but also because of what sort of happened off the pitch. There's a feeling that he sort of was putting pressure on Hansi Flick, on the coach, to bring him back into the team when he thought that he was fit and ready. Even though Szczesny had been doing well, of course, Flick chose to stick with Szczesny, certainly in the big games in the Champions League, in those semi-finals, in the second leg in particular. Didn't go for Ter Stegen. There's some reports that didn't go down too well with Flick or with the club. And like I say, that some of Ter Stegen's attitude, aside from his performances when he came back, weren't to the liking of Flick and to the club. And so all that's contributed to them going for Joan Garcia. And like I say, if Joan Garcia comes in, they want Szczesny to stay as well as backup. That would mean finding an exit for Ter Stegen. That might not be easy, like I say, given the money that he's on. But I mean, Ter Stegen is going to want to play. And so if it's clear that he's not going to play under Flick, it would make sense for everyone, I think, for him to move.
Shaka.
Listen, it makes sense to move Ter Stegen on at this point. Given the season that Szczesny had and the old cliche, possession is 9/10 of the law, you see Szczesny being ahead of him, certainly in that regard. And then, to Alex's point, the big question becomes around moving Ter Stegen on. At 33 years old, coming back from a serious injury, certainly not featuring prominently for pretty much an entire season. Who takes that chance on someone like Ter Stegen right now, given the money that he'll be looking for? So it's easy for Barcelona to say that they're moving him on. I think it'll be more difficult for them to find, or for him to find a reliable landing spot. But given the signing of Garcia, given the form of Szczesny, you're very heavily loaded in goalkeeping department if Ter Stegen stays.
Might work out though for Barcelona. World Cup year. Ter Stegen's going to want to play, obviously. And if they say to him, look, you're third basically in the pecking order, obviously he's going to have to move on. So in that sense, it might be easier to offload him than it would on other seasons.
I'm afraid I'm with Shaka. 33-year-old, the money he's on, coming back from an injury. He's come back and he has played, and he hasn't played very well. I'm not so sure. There's not going to be a queue at the door, I don't think. I really don't. And the fact that they're now questioning his attitude, that makes it even harder. So I'm not so sure that there's going to be a queue.
Do you not think so?
I don't think so, no.
There's a telltale sign that this was getting out of the hands, literally, of Ter Stegen, when he's the only one talking. He's the only one actually either defending his position of Barcelona or questioning his position of Barcelona or saying that he expects to be back at Barcelona. And the club is saying nothing. If the club were sure that Ter Stegen was going to be their number one, nothing to see here. You just come out and say, no, there's no competition here. Szczesny will go back to the beach. We'll bring in Joan Garcia. It's no issue. Ter Stegen is number one. But the club has said nothing. Mute. They've said nothing. And they've left Ter Stegen talking all by himself, which tells you that the club is saying, I think we may just move on.
Yeah.
And in the club moving on, now it becomes the responsibility of the player because of a World Cup year, because of the fact that in the latest Germany game, he was the starter for Germany. Finally, Manuel Neuer seems to be out of the picture. It seems to be his chance with Germany. You have to play.
Meanwhile, for Real Madrid, let's talk about an addition to their squad, shall we, Alex? Mastantuono from Argentina. A lot of excitement about this youngster. What's being said there? We know Real Madrid love a teenager.
Yeah, really exciting, and it looks like this is close to being done. Our information is they're just working on some of the final details of the deal in terms of how this 45 million fee would be paid. Of course, Madrid want to be in instalments rather than paying it all in one go, and also when he would arrive. As you say, he's incredibly talented, 17 years old. Madrid have been tracking him, I think, for 2 years. Initially, there was some discussion of him maybe leaving River as late as next January, be able to stay at River to play not just the Club World Cup, but the Libertadores as well. After that, there was then discussion of, well, will he move in August when he turns 18? Of course, FIFA rules in general don't allow transfers, international transfers for under the age of 18. However, our information is that Madrid have looked at potentially trying to bring him in ahead of the Club World Cup, exploiting a loophole, which would be he has an Italian passport, and there are some precedents for cases where, on that basis, a move could be made before he turns 18. The clock is ticking on that. There may not be time, but that was what Madrid would like to do. I think River and the player as well would quite like to play that tournament with River before moving in August. So a few details still to be worked out, but no, really exciting. One of the sort of most talented players of his age in world football. Like I said, Madrid have tracked him for a long time. Their interest then sort of faded a little bit. It then came back into the picture in the last couple of weeks because there was some strong interest from PSG. They wanted him, and that sort of forced Madrid's hand and forced them to act now.
When you look at Real Madrid's squad, Ali, you don't exactly think, I'll tell you what they need, another attacker to throw in the mix.
Another left-sided attacker to throw in the mix. Another sort of in-between player that is not quite a striker, kind of a winger, but also can play on the inside. Oh, wait a minute. All right. You do have Arda Güler, right?
Yes, I believe so. I think he was playing against the US.
For Turkey.
Yes.
Yes, he was.
Yep.
Brahim Diaz.
Yeah.
Is he still around?
Yeah.
Apparently he's still around, at least for now anyways. And then you think about the left side of Real Madrid, and that is populated by Vini Jr. all by himself. And so you start thinking, well, where is the space for this kid to play? Well, certainly not immediately. But when you're planning and building a club and building the structure of a club, if you already have two players that occupy that space, and Arda Güler and Brahim Diaz, what is the point?
Right.
Unless you think that this guy is a mind-blowing talent that you are willing to ignore while you already have in front of you. I don't know what kind of message you're sending to these other players, and I also don't think that you're looking at what your needs are as a club. You look at that back line, you look at the balance of the midfield, that's where Real Madrid should be investing. Instead, we're looking at attacking players.
Alex, we'll let you go. What are you doing this summer, Alex? You coming here? What's going on? You Club World Cup in?
I'll be there. Yeah, I'm coming for the Club World Cup. Yeah.
Swing by. Come and say hello.
Sure.
It's
Why not?
Stevie's new house.
Yes.
Will do.